recording once it's done.
Okay. All right. You asked me a question about what is the purpose of the personal websites, and I want to respond. What is the purpose of all of our work? All of our work is premised on helping somebody who's going into the criminal justice system understand strategies they can deploy to advocate for themselves in a better way at different stages of the journey. And all of those lessons I predicate on what did I learn from leaders? And leaders taught me while I was going through 26 years that I've got to build a very deliberate strategy that shows how I am preparing to reconcile with society for the bad decisions I made that put me in prison. What worked for me, this was, of course, I started my journey before there was an internet, but I always documented the story. And because I had that extensive documentation, I was able to overcome some of the objections I faced from my opponents, whoever those opponents might be. So we encourage people to do the same thing. We encourage them to define success. What are you trying to do while you're in here? We encourage them to lay out a plan. We encourage them to put priorities in place. And we encourage them to document the journey to show how they're executing on the plan. And then when they later meet people that have influence on where they are or what they're going to do, they don't have to just talk about what they did. They can show people in real time. So like if we look at some of the people that we started with, like David at Finding My Nineveh, he really recorded his entire journey through jail and through prison. And we believe that's a powerful tool. That's the reason that we encourage people to create their personal websites. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I mean, I think that answers the overarching question of, like, very succinctly, why are we doing this? I think for people that are learning about this tool, um, I'm curious, like, what would some of the more specific strategies of documenting on the website be? Like, what types
Let
of
me
things would
ask you
they
a question.
document?
Let me put it
Yeah.
this way. Tulio, when you were in prison, did you train yourself how to program computers and learn about computers?
Yeah.
And did
Yeah.
you use books to help you?
Yeah. It was the only
Could
way
you
to do
tell
it.
me all the books that you did, that you read?
To this day, I still have them all. I didn't want to get rid of them. Their sentimental value.
Great. But right now, if I were to ask you, and you're sitting across the table from me, and you said you learned how to code in computers, could you show me how much work you had to do to learn? Yes or no?
No, no, that's
Okay.
a simple
Would
one.
it
Yeah.
have been helpful to you if you had a website and every single book that you read, as soon as you read it, you answered three questions? Why did I read? Title of book. What did I learn from reading? Title of book. How will having read? Title of book help me launch the career that I want to load when I go home? If you did that for every book that you read and you had a repository of information that showed that, would that asset have been valuable to you when you went out to open opportunities?
I think so.
Okay. So if you didn't do it, you'd be stuck with that question. No, I don't think I can really just succinctly do it. But if every single time I read something, I documented it and put it on that page, now it lives forever. And so if I'm going to sit across the table from LinkedIn or from one of these tech companies that say, why should I hire you? You can show them, here's my living resume of how I did not allow prison to destroy me. And this is why I can bring value to your company. So the fact that you've done it is incredibly powerful because everybody talks about it, but nobody really documents it. And I think that there's a wise guy who says if there's no documentation around it, if you haven't measured it, it doesn't exist.
Yeah.
Okay. So if I am suggesting don't just talk about those platitudes, use them. Okay. Because the time is going to pass. And in 5 years, I am not going to remember what I did in year one, but I'm going to have challenges and problems. And this becomes a tool that helps me. And then there's another very specific reason. Under the federal system, there is a resource called the First Step Act, which authorizes a judge or a prison administrator to reassess whether continued incarceration is appropriate or whether they may grant compassionate release. But there are two factors. There are two factors that a judge or a decision maker must consider. One of them, has this person pursued something compelling and extraordinary that differentiates him from everybody else? If he's done that, he advances the possibility of making a good case. Well, I'm a big believer that says if you document the journey, that is showing how hard you have worked. Otherwise, you're just full of a guy that said, I worked really hard to prepare for success. Well, that would be one thing. But for me, it was far more impactful to be able to show, hey, these are the 100 books I read over the past year. This is why I read them. This is what I learned from reading them. And this is why I can bring value to whatever solving this problem. Okay. All of that is showing I'm not just waiting for calendar pages to turn. I'm pursuing a very methodical, deliberate pathway to overcome the challenges of imprisonment. That worked for me. I encourage other people to think of whether it will work for them. And if it does, use it. And that's what the resource is about.
You know, as you say this, I mean, I'm going to be honest with you. Like, I think about, I've been successful after getting out of prison. And I think about what were the things that influenced my ability to become successful. And I'm going to be very transparent and say, I would probably be no different than a person who just claimed to have gone through incarceration and done a lot to, fix themselves, except for that I had somebody that was literally working in the prison that saw that effort vouch for me when opportunity presented itself. If it wasn't for that, I believe wholeheartedly most of the opportunities that I've been able to benefit from since my release wouldn't be there.
So let's pause right there.
Yeah, because as you're saying what you're saying, like, I realize that, like, the truth of the matter is I got lucky.
No, pause right there. You
Okay.
created luck because you worked hard and you documented it. Now, in our course, episode number 7 of the course is awareness. Awareness means I am going to create awareness of myself. What opportunities can I seize myself through my own initiative? But simultaneously, how am I going to create awareness in other people? And then those other people will become an advocate for you. And that's what makes things flourish.
Yeah.
Because see, she saw, hey, I'm going to put my reputation on the line and introduce Tulio to Chris Redlitz. Okay. But if you didn't do that, she wouldn't have taken that initiative.
Right. Yeah, you're right. But I guess as I heard your explanation of this too, like, I see how if I had had a tool where I could have documented this when there wasn't a person there to become aware of the effort that I'm doing, that would have helped me to be able to demonstrate that even if I didn't have an advocate, which
let's
of
take it
itself
further.
is a tool.
Let's talk about people that you don't know. I can tell you, I was in prison and got an unsolicited letter from a U.S. attorney, a prosecutor, somebody whose job is to put people in prison. But because I had documented the record so thoroughly, he reached out to my wife, put together a pro bono legal team, and said, we want to help Michael get out of prison. Okay. Now, I didn't get out of prison early, but it was the effort that other people made on my behalf, unsolicited, that it was specifically because I documented the record. And it's not only about getting out of prison, it's about opening relationships and business opportunities when you get out. So the documentation is crucial. It's crucial for influencing probation officers you're going to meet in the future. It's crucial for influencing people that might provide you capital in the future. It's crucial for helping your family members stay aware of what you're doing and you're positive and constructive while you're inside. It's crucial for your own mindset to say, I'm not just a puppet in here waiting for calendar pages to turn, but rather I'm pursuing a deliberate, structured path to recalibrate and rebuild. And that's what I wholeheartedly believe in. And that's the value somebody gets.
I get it. I
Good.
mean, I love it. I get it, and I find that it's really really helpful when you frame it like that, because I think as a tool, it's about like any tool, right? I could have a wrench, or I could have a computer, and how I choose to use that wrench or computer is what separates somebody that can be successful with it to somebody else is just going to let it sit there and get dusty.
So somebody who's looking at this video, if you will allow me to publish this video on our consulting page so they can see it, I'm going to encourage them to do a little bit more. I'm going to encourage them to scroll down to the bottom of any one of the pages on our website, and you'll see that nice little footer section or pre-footer section that you wrote my story. And look at that story. And what you will see is that I didn't ask anybody to do anything that I didn't do. But they will see, how did I get through years 1 through 5, 5 through 10, 10 through 15, 15 through 20, 22 through 25, and then how did I use all of that adjustment to meet you when I came home? How did I meet Chris Redlitz? I didn't
Yeah,
know Chris Redlitz. I met Chris Redlitz because Scott Budnick had learned about my work and reached out to me when I was in prison. And within 2 days of getting out, Scott Budnick calls and says, "Have you met Chris Redlitz?" And then because of that, I meet Tulio Cardozo, right?
yeah,
So it's this series of events that transpire that allow us to grow. It's how I became a professor at San Francisco State while I was still in the halfway house. It's how I started raising capital to invest in real estate. It's how I got married. I am telling you, these are the strategies that empowered me through 26 years. They're all documented. I encourage you to document them as well. That's the bottom line. And we've got a
yeah,
great team to help us. We have Tulio on the tech side. We've got Roman. We've got Tina. We've got other people that are helping us. But this is really about solving the problem, not for the systemic flaws of mass incarceration, but for you, the individual. And I'm just going to show you the strategies that I really believe in, and I hope that our team can be of help to you. And if we can't, do it yourself. But it's tough to do. And I was very blessed to have opportunities that opened because I followed this strategy, and I just want other people to open those opportunities for themselves. I hope that kind of succinctly responds to your question.
absolutely. No, absolutely. I think this is super valuable, and I
Great.
appreciate you taking the time to really outline it. Thank you.
So you can end the recording.
All right. It is